I saw this comment under a video where someone was talking about the house and first model. I'm not even gonna lie, I don't really remember what they were saying. But me personally, I don't even really like the whole house and first model thing anyways, because I can't speak for everybody, but I know most people first become homeless by themselves somewhere from age 7 to 16. So, I mean, you can't get a place anyways, but the overall point is that money and all that stuff and a house and cars, none of that matters. People want families and somebody to love and love them. I remember ever since I was 6, I always knew that honestly, I knew that if I was like rich or something, I'd just be depressed and it wouldn't even matter to me because one, I was never materialistic, but I also know that having money and a whole bunch of stuff and nobody to share it with is definitely really depressing. But anyways, people trying to push this victim blame, pull yourself up from your bootstraps, motivational bullcrap that have never really been homeless is really annoying. This comment is almost as bad as one that I seen one time where a dude was like, I was homeless for 3 months. I was sleeping at my friend's house and because I had lost my job and I got another job and I got a place. And people can say what they want to say. I'm definitely not saying that the whole hidden homeless thing isn't a real form of homelessness. I would honestly say that most people pretty much grow up homeless. Because if you're living in an unsafe environment, an unstable environment, no running water, no HVAC, being thrown around or passed around, because a lot of people are thrown around and passed around from the time that they're born. If you're institutionalized in the cash for kids system or any form of the human cash cow systems, that's also homelessness. So I'm definitely not saying that hidden homelessness isn't real, but like having people push this I did it all on my own when there's people that literally really didn't have the little bit of help that they do have is also like really annoying. But that wasn't even really my original point when I read this. My original mindset, I guess I could say, when I read this is that people don't even consider living with your parent as a kid being homeless usually, even when it really is an unsafe environment, because a lot of people don't even really know about the term hidden homeless anyways. But it's like, unless living with their dad was unsafe or living with a friend was unsafe, it's not even really necessarily homelessness. And I even had one person try to argue with me and say that once you become a legal adult and you're able to depend on yourself and you're still living with somebody, that's homelessness. And this was somebody that had to leave home at 15 that said this. And it's like, honestly, that's really bullcrap. Like, people who aren't in a terrible situation that are still kids and are living with their parents in their teens or 20s or whatever, they're not calling themselves homeless. Honestly, in places where the family systems are a lot less dysfunctional and people are still living with their families up to the 3rd and 4th generation like it was originally designed, they're not calling themselves homeless because they live with their grandma and their dad and their brothers and they all live together. That's a dysfunctional society mindset, to be honest. But literally though, I can't get over it now that I'm reading some of it again. No one provides for you, but I live with 2 people for a certain amount of time. That's there's literally 7-year-olds that are out here by themselves and 1-year-olds that are out here by themselves that don't have any of that. It kind of reminds me of when I was in this host family program that I really didn't want to get in. And I was talking about how the lady wasn't letting me cook or eat. And then somebody was like, what did they say? That I was ungrateful. And then they gave this whole speech about how they did it all for themselves and how they're a drug dealer. And I always notice that it's the people that are doing some of the most messed up stuff that always want to come for other people because they have a lot of money from doing the horrible things that can get you a lot of money quickly. And then I was like, how in the world are you trying to tell me? Well, really, they're making a lot of accusations anyways about me and my situation. Because, like, living in the host family program that's using you for money, is that really even surviving off the kindness of others, or is it surviving off of, like, being taken advantage of? But how are you going to tell me that I'm the bad guy in the situation when you're a drug dealer? And, of course, they were like, I chose, wait a minute, they were, okay, hold up. They were like, I have a bachelor's degree. I chose this and I wanted to live this life, and I didn't just wander and stumble into my situation like you did. And it's like, for one, I had to escape the cash for kids system and just my situation I was in general with relatives. And it's like, I've never even liked the whole idea of calling somebody a bum or lazy or homeless when they're not even old enough to have a place anyways. But yeah, so there's that. It's just really annoying. I don't even really see that mindset much different from like how people with jobs are always like using their jobs as an excuse to take advantage of and hurt people. Like when you're in the cash for kids system or any of the human cash cow systems, sometimes if you ask them like why they're hurting you and why they're doing the stuff they're doing, they'll be like, I'm just doing a job, I'm just doing my job. And a lot of people have that mindset. And as things get worse in the world and things get harder, people are going to become even more for themselves. The rat race is going to get worse. And it's going to be even more of a dog-eat-dog world. And there's going to be even more people running around saying, I'm just doing my job. Like, it's going to come a point in time where everybody's going to have to run in with human trafficking. Nobody's going to be able to pretend that it doesn't exist because everybody's going to know somebody or who has been trafficked or almost has been. Or maybe it even will happen to themselves. I don't even think this is coming out right. I can barely even talk right now because I'm staying indoors again, and like I'm allergic to building chemicals, and it really just messes with my neurological symptoms and stuff like that. I don't even think that came out right. But yeah, anywho, when people are doing all that, they're probably still gonna be like, I'm just doing a job. But that's another thing I hate about the Matrix as a whole. But that's another thing, though, the whole just get a job thing. Like, I've been trying to get a job since 12, and I mean, I paid bills since 11, but I always had to find, like, little alternative ways to make money. Not anything crazy or self-detrimental, but I'm not even gonna lie, though. Something that I've thought about a lot throughout the years is, like, people are always saying getting help, which doesn't exist. Getting an individual person to help you, let you stay with them, or to I don't know, drive you places, eventually get in a car, and different things like that, having a place. But honestly, none of that stuff really mattered that much to me. One of my main focuses is really like trying to get a job. Because it's like if I could just get somebody to actually hire me, like, that would be the main thing that could really, really help me. Everything else is kind of irrelevant, to be truthfully honest. It's really, really irrelevant. Because it's like, especially when I was living in Cali, I was always thinking, and I still sometimes think about it, although I try to not think about the past, but I was like, if I could have just got somebody to hire me back when I was in Cali, and I could have got like $20 an hour, maybe, possibly, if somebody was nice enough to do that, I could have saved up so much money the whole time I was there and could have eventually, like, figured some stuff out. But it's like I couldn't even get anybody to hire me with so much bullcrap with all that. But, what was I about to say? I guess I could go ahead and read this. No one provides for you. You have to provide for yourself. I was homeless when I was 19 to 20. And that's not even really that long compared to some people that have been homeless since they were like 7 years old or younger, and now they're 50. But I was living on my friend's bedroom floor. The only way I got out of that was to work and save money. I found myself a cheap apartment, except for a 3-month period sleeping on my dad's couch. I haven't been homeless since. I even bought myself a house in 2020. No one is going to come in and save you. But it's like you say this, and I mean they're totally not wrong. Nobody gives a crap how old you are. Nobody cares if you're 5 years old. You're gonna have to figure something out on your own. But it's like to say nobody's gonna come in and save you, but then give these stories about people who have help when some people don't even have that. But anywho, you have to slay your own dragons. You only eat and be comfortable when you provide it yourself, and that's totally true. And that's some people's life story. 5 degrees later, 2 decades of working experience, I'm making really good money and getting to the point where my investments can more than cover my housing. It's small incremental growth called continuous improvements, or Japanese say kaizen. Every choice, every step builds off each other. Then the sun makes your life. And I'm not even gonna lie, I assume like from the story that maybe their mom kicked them out or whatever in the world, but I don't know. It's like, and another thing I could say though is that if somebody's your quote unquote friend and you have to like hope they'll let you stay with them, or you have to hope they're not gonna like act crazy when you stay with them, they're not even really your friend anyways. I'm not even gonna lie. And it's like, I don't even want to get into the relationship bullcrap. That's why I stay away from that stuff. But yeah, it's like, I mean, why even call somebody a friend if you can't even get like the bare minimum out of them? Like, it's supposed to be like reciprocating, but people are just weird. And another thing is that a lot of people don't have that friend. And I mean, they're pretty young still though, but I mean, I could still say a lot of people, due to their trauma symptoms or how isolated their abuse situations were, they're not able to like be around people their age. Like, for some people, throughout their whole life, most of their quote unquote friends are pedophiles and stuff. And I don't want to go that route, and that's why I don't have all that. And honestly, it's not even worth it. It's not even really having anything. It's mostly just being taken advantage of in a whole bunch of mind games, and people like limerence for you that are like obsessed with you and other kids and younger people, and it's just but a lot of people go that route. A lot of people go that route that still live with their abusive relatives, but it's not for me. And honestly, if I was doing that like a lot of people do, a lot of people fall into that, I would definitely be a lot further, but I'm just not willing to do that. I'm not taking part in any of those SA rituals. And it's not worth it in the end. You just lose your mind more and more. But yeah, to get back to the main point though, they also avoided actually really being outside. And they avoided actually being out in the open and homeless. Because like I mentioned in the white projection videos or whatever I titled them, I was talking with this dude, and he was talking about how his mom recently died and how different things happened and him ending up homeless and how he works a job and people act like he doesn't because he's out there and he works just like they do, and how he's already been through enough. He can't take all the people wanting to call the police on him for no reason. And it was really a racial situation anyways, to be honest. It didn't even have anything to do with being homeless, but people wanted to call the police on him, people treated him funny, and things like that, and saying slick stuff to him. He said he can't take all of that. He gets mad too easily for that, and that's another thing I could totally say. And I've kind of been trying to say, but I just couldn't say it right, I don't think. But people go through higher level and lower level traffic in different abuse situations before ending up out here at whatever age. Usually really young. It's like this idea people have in their head, especially in America, that like you're the lazy 40-year-old man or something, but honestly, you really don't even become homeless way that late in your life. I mean, some people do due to like what's going on these days, but typically that person's been homeless since they were like 14, 15 years old. But that's people's idea, but it's like you lose your mind and get more and more angry and bitter because you go through a whole bunch of bull crap and then you become homeless, especially full-blown homeless, and you're getting treated like crap and pretty much being a targeted individual all over again. And that could cause a lot of issues. And this is a big part of why some people are so desperate to couch surf to not be full-blown homeless and be treated like crap all over again. They'll sit in some bad, risky abuse situation with people they halfway know, or maybe do know, like quote-unquote friends and stuff, and they'll couch surf. And honestly, it's really not worth it because people are always going to let you know that you're not welcome, especially if you don't really have anybody for real and there are just a bunch of fake people around you. There's probably going to be some essay in return and like a you owe me type situation. Or you may be staying with like some pederasty, predator type person. What else was I going to say? Overall, like maybe you're staying with like your friend's parents. One, your friend probably didn't even let their parents know that you were going to be staying there, so it's probably like a secret that they're trying to keep. And it's not going to last long because you're not going to be able to hide in somebody's house too long, maybe, unless they're being neglected really badly. After a while, the parent will say, I'm tired of taking care of somebody else's kid, and I just can't do it anymore, I don't have the money, whatever. And some people do get lucky, and like they actually have friends' parents who adopt them, but like for most people, that's a maladaptive daydream and magical thinking. Honestly, adoption is a big magical thinking maladaptive daydream for a lot of people. But the likelihood of it happening is kind of like up in the air, but we could all hope. Although I'm not gonna lie though, going back, especially around like Jezebelic black women, and remembering how horrible like having some older person over you that's gonna torture you is, makes me like not want to be adopted anymore. It reminds me of how bad like quote-unquote family and quote-unquote parents actually is. And I mean, it's like honestly, especially people 40 plus, it's like a lot of them are really ignorant and brainwashed. They're deep in the feminine thug persona. They think they're Tupac and these other down low effeminate thug persona, occult bloodline puppets. And it's like honestly, I mean maybe if it was the right person, but I don't really like most people I meet anyway, so it's kind of a no for me most of the time. But like on a bad day, maybe I want to be adopted, but I guess it's more about wanting to like be around people that I have something in common with. But it's also like, I mean, throughout my whole life, I'm never around people my age, and I'm always around older people, which causes all types of issues. And I'm not for the whole chomo thing, I'm not desperate enough for that, so it's not really ever that, but it's like other toxic stuff that goes along with being around older people. I don't remember what point I was supposed to be getting at. But another thing this makes me think about though is this comment I seen somewhere where this dude was like, I'm schizophrenic and I've been homeless 10 times and I had to work and get myself back in a house. And then they were trying to do the whole pull yourself up by your bootstraps thing. And to be truthfully honest, if you're schizophrenic, you're supposed to be getting like some type of housing assistance. And I know that stuff is bullcrap and honestly it's really restrictive and they want you to like be really down bad. But like that's crazy anyways. It even reminds me when I was in North Carolina in a storm shelter because it was snowing at 15 degrees. And one of the staff members was talking about like how you can't just throw somebody with schizoaffective disorder in their own apartment. And it's like honestly all that mental label stuff is bullcrap. It's all trauma centers if it's even actually there, but it's still like, so what do? Leave them outside? And of course this is North Carolina, so I mean, they're not like helping people with housing and they don't have funding for any of that stuff anyways. I mean, nobody's throwing people in houses, to be truthfully honest, but in the South, they don't even have the bare minimum of services that they have in like the West Coast, which I mean, what places all really do have all that. But I'm trying so hard to pronounce my words right now, but I can't. Like, my nervous system is so dysregulated. This one lady responded to the dude's comment, and she was like, you say you're schizophrenic and I believe you because everybody can't afford to be homeless 10 times. That was so hard to get out because I have a migraine so bad right now. But that's chemical allergies for you. But I do want to make this clear. I am not for the sitting around begging people for stuff and like victim mindset, standing in like a bad situation. And I'm not even gonna lie. I mean, the reality is a lot of people really don't have anybody. I mean, I could totally speak for that. And aside from that, it's like the system is set up to where like you really have to like cheat some stuff to make it. But like I said though, who really cares about money and a car and stuff when nobody gives a crap about them and they don't have anybody to like share their love with and I don't know, share their car with if that even came out right. It's like all that stuff is so irrelevant. And like, I mean, I've always liked outside. I say this pretty often. I always saw myself like living outside. I'm not saying I didn't want a job though. I always did want a job and like I still do. But as far as like all the Matrix stuff is kind of whatever. But overall though, due to different things that happened to me, I did like develop a lot of health issues and like I really can't take the chemicals that are used in a lot of buildings. So I do get like really, really sick to where I can't really do anything while staying indoors in certain places. And I'm not even gonna lie, it's like a lot of stuff with that. It's like just because of the things that people do to each other and because of like health stuff, I really do better like outdoors, but it's definitely a certain way I would want things to be when it comes to like, I don't know, staying in nature. But like I really just can't handle the toxic load ever since about I'd say 2021, maybe worse than 2022. Like when I stay in buildings that have certain chemicals, mold, not enough not enough oxygen, and too high carbon, I think dioxide or monoxide, I can't remember which one. I just can't like get the toxins out of my body like some other people can, so like I get really sick. I can barely talk even more, and a lot of things happen. Especially places with no HVAC system, because one of the points of the HVAC system is to get a certain amount of air changes per hour. But a lot of places don't actually have an HVAC system or AC or even heat, which the heat, that's kind of whatever. And so, like, with the chemicals just sitting there, it makes it worse because, like, the building isn't, like, getting the 30 air changes per hour or whatever. Then there's another comment I seen a while ago where somebody was like, I feel like certain people just can't fit into society and they're bound to end up living outside. And then, of course, people doing the whole white projection thing, as I like to call it, wanted to make that about drugs when it doesn't even have to have anything to do with that whatsoever. But as I always say, quote-unquote black and white people on a large scale really have no accountability, but I could make 30,000 videos about that. But I really hate how, like, with the white projection, as I call it, they love to, like, make everything about drugs. And it's like, as I always say, there is no homeless drug crisis. It's the same people doing all the same drugs they've been doing, but since people are doing it outside now, it's more noticeable than they wanted it to be. Then it also makes you think about like how I don't know what I was about to say. I have no idea what I was about to say. I'm not even gonna lie, but that's what happens. So, I can't throw in though. Okay, no, I forgot that too. Let me read this comment. It's crazy that we don't get to experience life without being broken/damaged for even 10 years. Most people begin their journey with trauma before they're 7 years old. It's like we never really get a chance at life until we're old enough to give ourselves that chance. And this is what ageism does. People want you to hold on to dear life till 18, really way older than that. Because, I mean, how many people really even get out at 18? Most people get out at like 30, if ever. They want you to hold on for dear life if you even make it like past 13. And then try to like ignore all the trauma, act like nothing ever happened. And that's another thing too, like people want you to be homeless at 7 and 8 and be thrown in and out of jail and prison and different placements and thrown around, trafficked around. And then at a certain age, like 26 or well, really like 30 plus, then they want you to get a house. And it's like, I mean, by then so much stuff has already happened. You're so much more messed up from being treated like crap, really. on top of the abuse, which I mean that is abuse, but like just being treated like crap and like a bum orphan that nobody cares about, just out in the world. And it's like now you're too messed up to really just try to play it off and play cool and go along with the normal stuff of the Matrix and just like get a job and not like be breaking down crying around the clock. And I'm not even gonna lie, that like one time I did like finally have an over the table job for about 2 seconds, and then my mom was like, she had so much different bullcrap for why she didn't want me to work the job, but she eventually admitted that pretty much she was scared that like the government or whoever in the world would like see that I'm working a job, and then they would like take away my SSDI, and then she like wouldn't have it anymore. And so anyways, I remember when I was working that job, I was still believing the gaslight that my health wasn't horrible, even though it really was, especially like then. And so I was like in pain all the time. I had like serious hypoglycemia. I was always hungry. I wasn't eating enough, but like I can't break down food on a cellular level anyway. So like I'm still starving on a cellular level no matter how much I eat. So like my blood sugar was probably below the 50s then. So that caused like a lot of like mood issues from that, the leptin resistance, me being hungry, which is triggering in general for me being hungry. It gives me emotional flashbacks, but I mean it causes like other issues just due to like the physical health stuff. And so that, and how Jezebelic black women especially like hate their kids, that was all just too triggering, and it's just hard to like really even be out in public. And then like without people trying to make me feel like the bad guy and like I'm the crazy violent person for putting Negroids in their place because they have no accountability. But yeah, so there's that. I actually even had been talking to this African lady off and on about like how it's just like it's really hard to live around as I would just call them, Negroids and Caucasoids, because like just how they are to their own family, their kids. Although, as I always say, definitely a lot of way worse, way more demonic stuff happens in like the quote unquote white communities, especially ones with more money. But yeah, even the poorer ones. But melanated people as a whole are definitely more loud and proud about abuse, and also Southerners, because they commonly like do the whole religious backing for their Baal and Molech worship. But yeah, and by that I mean like their excuse for child abuse and even for like other types of domestic violence is religion. For just in case like nobody understood that, because I realized that like people may not really ever know what I'm talking about. But I mean most people live in denial, so I mean it makes sense. But yeah, there's also the fact that I didn't even get paid as much as I was supposed to. And it's actually kind of funny because it seems like even though working like side jobs, or I guess you could say under the table, but I wouldn't really want to say that. I would say side jobs, I definitely make more money, but I mean that's still kind of like iffy too. But over the table I definitely was like really screwed over. But then again, I really wasn't even able to work that long. But still, I'm like, I don't know, I've been trying to get a job over the table ever since. That last line just hit me very deep as it came to me. It's really sad and makes me feel a lot of compassion for everybody. And that's something I constantly talk about recently. Like, I will always say, finally actually realizing that I am a kid after running away, and not even like right after, it was more so recent. That's one of the things that's really gotten to me the most, especially because like throughout my whole life I've always been being told that I need to like get my SHIT together. But something else I've realized though is that it's not even about what my relatives used to say to me. It's the stuff that people say to me now. It's like I have a lot of people that obviously are just like random people out in the world that don't give a crap about me or even themselves, but they want to like just like set these weird standards and expectations for me. Just like I said before, like when you have abusive parents or no parents, or like out on your own or whatever, you're like, people just feel like you should be able to do more, and they just see you so much different from if you like had parents or whatever. And it's like so much insults come about what you should be doing and what you should have already been accomplished. I don't even know if this is coming out right. But yeah. So it's like, screw what your parents and relatives did to you. It's like you're really just going to be surviving the world, which I mean, it kind of already was surviving the world. And I mean, I totally learned that back in my previous situation. That's something I used to talk about all the time on the evidence channels, although I never described it like how I'm really starting to see it now. But like, as I always said, when somebody's being abused, everybody knows. The school system, the local police department, etc., etc. But I mean, screw like the abuse thing. Like, just when somebody's, I don't know, just dealing with anything really. It's like people are either enablers or flying monkeys. And it's like, that's pretty much it. People don't care about themselves. They don't care about other people. I even remember I used to have a video, like, I probably still have it unlisted somewhere, because I don't think this was on one of the deleted channels. But when I was in the Jim Crow self-confined placement, some boy had told me that, like, his dad was a diagnosed narcissist. And honestly, the way he approached me and started talking junk to me, I could tell that he definitely had, like, some spirits that were, like, ready to target me. But he was like, you have a narcissistic viewpoint on life, and you have mommy daddy issues. Because I was like, love isn't real, and some other stuff I can't even remember, to be honest. He wasn't in the self-confined placement, though, if I didn't already say that. He was one of the quote-unquote normal kids, and like, I was allowed outside in the open world that day, so I got to see some other people. And so he said all that stuff, and he was like, if you don't start thinking differently, you're going to end up killing yourself. And I mean, the world is what it is. And I don't like, that's another thing I don't like. I don't like when people try to like say it's just a mental health, or you're just in a bad spot right now. It really just makes you feel like, it makes you want to live in a la-la land and just tell yourself, this isn't life, this is just me. No, this is life. This is life. And then I have people telling me that I'm cynical and stuff, which honestly, the people telling me I'm cynical are people that are taking part in like the same horrible systems and are like top dog perpetrators anyways. But I mean, I guess being cynical is the reality. But the conclusion I've been coming to is that, no, I forgot something, hold up. I don't remember what it was, so never mind. The conclusion I've been coming to is that if you want to not be molested and essayed and taken advantage of in all types of ways, you have to be rich, but you have to become self-made, not going through the industry, because of course if you go through the industry, you're going to be forced to sell out, and you're going to be getting essayed and all types of stuff for rituals. Or you'll just get taken out like XXX and Juice WRLD if you're in the 27 club, so. Or you'll be like XXX and you'll be forced to start making porn as a teenager at 17 or younger and become an addict if you aren't already, to try to cope. So, yeah, not like that. You want to become like self-made. So I've come to that conclusion. But I mean, put the like really bad things happening to the side. If you want people to not see you as less than and not want to walk all over you and make jokes about how your parents don't love you and call you a bum and stuff, you gotta be above them. But yeah, screw your family, screw your parents. Well, I mean, I could say that, that too, but screw what they did to you is what I'm actually meaning to say. None of that even really matters. You're surviving the world. And as I've said before, your parents aren't your parents, your family isn't your family, your friends probably aren't even your friends. They're zombie shapeshifters living in a false self, and that's why they allow demons to take over them, to abuse you and other people and themselves. As a side note. If I remember any of the things that I forgot, I put it in the description. Hopefully this makes sense. I'm really trying to pronounce my words, but it's not working. But hey, if you want me to say something that's quote unquote positive, I will say that learn a trade. Learn as many as possible. Try that. That's the only advice I can really give because I haven't been in the workforce yet. And I know people will say that like that's really straining on your body. And I mean it definitely is, and to be truthfully honest, like it's something I've always like building stuff, I'll say that. So I like was interested in trade type stuff. But I know the unfortunate thing for me is that even though it's something that I like know a lot about and actually know how to do, like I'm very visibly sick and I have been for some years now, though my health is definitely way better than it used to be. Especially more so when I'm outdoors and also like I'm able to eat the stuff I'm supposed to be eating. But like I just kind of am already kind of like how people get after they've been in the trades for over 40 years. I've already been like that since I was like 12 to 14. I don't remember what I was saying, but I don't really remember what I was really supposed to say when I added on this last clip. And it was something really important too. That's the screwed up part. But that's what happens when you can't like get toxins out of your body. What was the other thing? Cause I just remembered. Oh yes, I was on the bus earlier, and this dude was talking to another guy, and he was like, pretty much the whole my situation is worse than yours because I have a 12-year-old and a 4-year-old, and something about child support, and I can't just leave them or throw them out into the world, but you can with your kids, because your kids are grown, and you're way older than me, but you're still helping take care of your kids, but you don't have to do that. I have to do that, so I'm not free yet, so my situation is worse. And honestly, I mean, to be truthfully honest, if he really did want to like just up and leave, he could, because I mean, that's about the age a lot of people end up out here anyways. I'm definitely not saying he should do that, but it's like he doesn't really sound like the safest person to be around anyways, to be honest. Although it kind of sounds like they don't really live with him. Kind of sounds like they're living with like his ex or something. Although he didn't say all that, but he did mention the whole child support thing. And then the other guy was like, well, I mean, you could get a job at like 15 or whatever. And then the other guy was like, well, I mean, a 12-year-old and a 4-year-old can't work a job. If my kids were 18, I could go ahead and tell them, well, it's time for you to take care of yourself and throw them out there to get a job. And it's like, honestly, though, so much is obviously wrong with that. But one of the things that really comes to my mind is that, like, when you're in certain situations and when there's just, like, certain things about you, you go through, like, a lot of discrimination. If you're, like, a homeless kid and you're trying to, like, if you're homeless anybody, for one, if they know you're homeless, they may not hire you. There's already that. If you're, like, an age where they expect you to, like, be in school or something, then they're going to be like, well, we don't hire people high school age, but then they're going to be like, well, if you're not in school anyways, then that's another issue because then you're uneducated, which it's really a lot of racial stuff with that. And it doesn't even have to be like because the person is like not quote unquote white. It's still just like the idea that school is education. It's like a lot of different brainwashing stuff around that, but yeah, anywho. So there's that. The whole you can get a job at 18, but then when you're 18 you get told 21, and then when you're 21 you get told something else, and then it just keeps going. And it's like everything really depends. That's why I say people say stuff about like the house and the car, which that would make it easier, and it definitely could like be more convenient. Although I know I personally can't drive at all, but I really feel like aside from the whole family thing and like actually having a support system, actually being able to get a job and like maybe it also paying enough could probably be one of the most beneficial things. I also forgot to say that one thing I learned really starting at 12 is that if somebody says they don't want to hire you because you're not old enough, that's not really the real reason. They just want to make up excuses for why they don't want to hire you, and they never will, and they're going to have a new excuse every single. That's a big part of why I started working for myself, because honestly, there was no other option. But anyways, this reminds me of when like I was on Cali and people were often jealous of me because they felt like people would care more about me and people would give me money because I'm a kid. But honestly, depending on where I'm at, especially in places that aren't used to street kids and like have this idea that there are no homeless youth in America, or I won't even say homeless youth because I'm not even necessarily homeless, but like just, I don't know, people just act like people that think that there's one way things are and that life is, and they have this like we're not third world mindset that causes them to be like really prideful and in denial of like the realities of the different things that go on even in this country. They're gonna feel like I'm just quote unquote grown and there's somewhere I'm supposed to be that I'm not at, or I'm hiding from somebody, or I did something to get kicked out. Some people even accuse others of being trust fund babies and quote unquote yuppies and faking stuff, or being scam artists. And what else? Overall, whether you're a quote unquote kid or not, that doesn't have anything to do with age. It has something to do with your situation, who's around you, and how they feel about you. I mean, depending on who's around, people will tell you that you're grown and need to grow up if you're 12 or even younger than that, or if you're 16 or, I don't know, 10. It all depends. But some people will tell you if you're in your 20s that you're a baby. So, big part of why I always say, you're only a child until somebody wants to blame you for something, lock you up, or have sex with you. But it could also even go in a reverse fashion where people can use the I'm grown complex and they'll be like, since you're a child, you have to let me do these things to you, or since you're a child, you have to get locked up. Society is very anti-youth. But I'm not even going to lie though, I get these people's mindset. Really? They still want to be younger and they want to be like, quote unquote, cute, I guess. Not that they look bad, but like, they just had this idea in their head that if they were still younger and maybe cute or whatever, somebody would finally adopt and want to like be their family. But let's be real, if people cared about quote unquote kids, none of us would be in the situations we're in anyways. As someone who felt like my life was over before it started and only recently realized I was a kid, I often wish I was younger, and I really shouldn't. I know I shouldn't because it means having to go through so much torture all over again, although I definitely do wish I would have ran away at 12. That would have honestly been better. Also, I would have got out before the cash for kids system stuff started, which would mean I would have got out before I went through all the abuse that made me chronically ill. But that would mean dodging cops and stuff even longer, and it would be harder though. But anyways, it's just like, when I look at people, even people my age, but people younger especially, like, I really go into like a flashback type mode. I realize how much of life I had to dissociate through and fight through, and how even now, I'm really not even living like, I mean, a lot of people are in this situation, even worse, but still, I'm not like doing the things that I really should be doing. Like, even seeing other kids, and especially younger kids, get to like just skateboard, and even other teenagers get to skateboard, like have their parents buy them food, just seeing people do things that like just normal things like laughing and stuff that like if me and my siblings would have done, we would have got in trouble. Or if me and like the kids in the cash for kids system would have done, we would have got in trouble, drugs, shut up, whatever in the world. And it's like, just like remembering, or well, no, just like, I don't know, even not even never getting to be around people my age, even still now, because one, I really don't get along with them. And even where I am now, it's like so much of a culture shock with like the hardcore drug use and all types of other stuff that they're into, to where it's like, but I mean, it's just so much stuff with it. I can't even lie. People my age really make me nervous. But just like, I don't know, it's just scary that even still now I'm watching like my youth fade away, and like just knowing that I'm not living life how I really should be or could be. And like, I'm so developmentally behind due to a lot of different reasons. I mean, even physically, I'm like really delayed. Or more so, I've really been like severely underweight since 14, which also like is a part of the metabolic issues, which aside from being underweight, I think even if I wasn't underweight, I'd still be like pretty developmentally delayed. I don't even think that's like how, well, that's not the word for it. But like most white people think I'm like 11. But Anyways, what was I saying? I don't know. It's just like I'm still just watching life just pass me by, and I'm just like looking around at other people my age, and it's like people have their certain ways they feel about me because of my situation. But I mean, in the end, just like their kids are kids, I am too, and it even makes me think about how people be like, we can't bring our kids to the park, which I mean, most people, well, I mean, I guess some teenagers may go to the park, but people be like, we can't bring our kids to the park, or we can't bring our kids anywhere anymore because the homeless people are there, especially on the West Coast. But I mean, there's homeless kids too. And people act like they're like scared for their kids to be around me. And it's like, your kids are older than me though, so it's like, what in the world?